I'm not necessarily saying that we should be pursuing happiness directly. I think happiness is a byproduct when we do the right things. There are all kinds of things that we can focus on a daily basis, and if we do those things, I think happiness comes as a side effect of that. So it's not really, I think, the destination we should be aiming to get to directly. It's more the kind of direction we might want to take in life. It's something that I think we do want. It's our happiness and our mental well-being. So when we are happier with our lives and in our lives, we naturally become healthier, and happier people, so people who are more content, who feel more in control of their life, who are living more in accordance with their values, actually, they naturally make better lifestyle choices. So if you feel good about who you are and what you're doing in life, you're less likely to feel the need to comfort eat and open that box of chocolates in the afternoon to get you through. You're less likely to dive into the tub of ice cream in front of the sofa in the evening. You're less likely to open a beer or half a bottle of wine to help you drown your sorrows if you feel happier and more content. Our lifestyle choices become better and it becomes much easier. But if you're someone who allows the actions of other people to overly influence how you feel, an email from your boss makes you feel really angry and annoyed, and you don't know how to process that. That is creating stress and tension in your body. That is also absolutely relevant to your health and your health outcomes. And we don't think of that. People don't realize, I think, or not enough of us realize, certainly an inability to forgive, holding on to anger and resentment, holding on to hostility, is absolutely associated with all kinds of negative health outcomes, autoimmune disease, heart disease, cancer, strokes, all kinds of things. So I think much of it comes from society, and this idea of what success is. One of the big problems is that we confuse success and happiness. Now, success and happiness can overlap for sure, but more often than not, they don't. Happiness is happiness, success is success. And unless you intentionally go through a process to actually define what those things are for you, you're going to end up chasing society's idea: more money, a better holiday, a nicer phone, a better hotel when you go and stay away with your family or your partner. Right? I'm not saying those things are necessarily wrong. The problem is if we chase them too much at the expense of what our happiness is, and many of us fall into that trap. Society gives us a false idea of happiness. We think happiness is that billboard, that billboard image of the smiling couple on the beach with their children, with the ocean behind them. We think that's happiness. No, that's not happiness. That's a pleasurable experience. That can form part of a happy life, no doubt, but that's not happiness. And all of us, I think, as kids, we've got that inner happiness. We're present, we're in the moment, we're playing, maybe with our siblings, maybe with our friends. We're not worrying about the future, we're not fretting about the past, we're right there in the moment. So that happiness is there inside us, but somewhere along the line, we sign this adulthood contract. School doesn't teach us how to be happy. I don't think many of our parents teach us how to be happy. Society doesn't teach us how to be happy. In fact, society probably teaches us the wrong lessons about what happiness really is. And happiness is a skill. Right? It's a skill that you can practice. Just as if you go to the gym and you do bicep curls every day, you're going to have bigger biceps. I feel I've broken down the skill of happiness into 10 very easy steps for people. And if they practice them a little bit, they're going to be a little bit happier. And as they become happier, they're going to become healthier as well. And one of the things that's really helped me with my happiness and my contentment in particular is real acceptance of every single thing that has ever happened to me or I have done, whether it's something I'm proud of, whether it's something I'm not proud of, or it's something that actually I could make a case that I made the wrong decision. No, actually, I made the very best decision for my growth, because actually if I look back now and see that it was potentially a negative, it's about reframing it to go, oh, what did I learn from that? Right? What did I learn from that? Oh, I never would have learned that had that not happened. Had I not gone to that job that I didn't like, I hated the framework and the structure there, right? I would get frustrated. I would come home and complain to my wife every day. She kept saying, hey babe, you don't like it. Why don't you leave? I can't leave. It pays us money. It does that, story. I created this kind of almost like a victim story around it. What I've learned is that you can always write a different story about any event in life. You've always got a choice in what story you put onto something, and you can practice this and train it. So any bit of friction you encounter in life, see if you can choose a happiness story around it. The truth actually doesn't matter, your happiness. The truth doesn't matter. Write a happiness story that works for you. And this is something I try my best to do. It's probably the thing that's had the most impact on my feeling of contentment. It's that every day, if I get a bit of social friction, let's say someone leaves a negative comment on my social media, for example, right? Instead of wishing it was other than the way it was, oh, I can't believe they acted like that. It's like, okay, let me go through a process here. Number one, is there any truth to this? Okay, yeah, there's a bit of truth here. I can learn here. I've been given an opportunity to learn. If there's no truth here, oh, well, why is this bothering me? And it's like putting the mirror up, and instead of looking out there, it's like, what is being triggered within me? Is it my insecurity? Is it my need to be liked and loved? What is it? Because then you start to take control of the situation. But I can tell you the greatest prison is the prison you create inside your own mind. For your happiness, I think sometimes the truth doesn't matter. It's the spin you put on it that's going to make you feel disempowered and a victim. I understand there are some pretty horrendous things that happen in life to people. I understand that, and sometimes it's harder than in other times. But this is something you can get better at. You can always put a new story on it. And what happens then? Every day becomes a school day, right? Every day you're being given, you're being gifted opportunities by the world around you to learn something about yourself and think, okay, this is quite difficult, right? Someone's done this and I don't like it. Something that I found really helpful is this idea that if I was that other person, I'd be doing exactly the same. If I were that other person with their childhood experiences, with their parents, with the bullying they received at school, if I were them, I would absolutely be making the same decisions as them. And look at the state of the world at the moment, right? It's seemingly pretty divided. Certainly online, it seems pretty divided. And I think this approach not only makes us feel better, but I think when we can exercise this compassion to everyone, even people we disagree with, I think that's what's going to make the world a much, much better and happier place. External success looks good, but on the inside, you don't feel good. And so you go to what I call these junk happiness habits, whether that be, drinking or gambling or, these days, Instagram, potentially overusing it and this sort of stuff. So the first step in any change is awareness. So even if someone's listening to this conversation and going, yeah, you know what? I'm not living an aligned life. Like I'm not being the person out there who I really am. Okay, that is progress. Okay, you may want more, but that is a good start. At least now you know. I think doing some sort of values exercise is really, really helpful. What are your values? Can you choose 3 values from this long list and maybe once a week you reassess, you go, yeah, I think that doesn't fit quite right. I'm going to tweak it, right? So you can keep tweaking until you really understand what these values are. And then you can, look at your life and go, how much of the time am I living in accordance with these values? And it's so simple, but just the act of writing it down and reassessing is really, really powerful. You start to make subtle shifts when you do that. Meaning and purpose is important, right? It's a necessary ingredient for happiness, but I don't think it's happiness in and of itself. And the reason I say that is because let's say you have a job that gives you meaning and purpose and you love it and it's helping the world, it really nourishes you. Okay, great, you've got meaning, but maybe you're working too hard. You're getting back too late each night. Maybe you're not spending time nourishing the important relationships in your life. Sure, you've got meaning, but you don't have core happiness. And then you could take it to another extreme. Let's say in World War II, You might make the case that a soldier fighting against the Nazis was living a meaningful life, but I'm not necessarily sure you could say that they were happy. People often say that, I want to find my purpose, but I don't know where to start. What is my purpose? And they see people online and think, oh man, they've got their purpose, I don't. I think that's where alignment and values can be really helpful, because if you're struggling to find your meaning and purpose, I would say focus on your values. So let's say you hate your job. Let's say you work in a call center, you don't like it, but that pays you money and it helps you feed your family and put a roof over your heads. And you hear the stuff about meaning and purpose. I say, okay, focus on values. If one of your values is kindness, let's say, that if you get up in the morning and you're kind to your partner, you get a coffee on the way to work and you're kind to the barista, you get on the bus and you're kind to the bus driver, and whilst you're at work, you're kind to your work colleagues, then you're living a life of meaning. That is a meaningful life. You may not love your job at the moment, but the more you act in alignment, that meaning, that purpose is going to come as a byproduct. Write down, or you can just tell me, 3 things that if you did them each week would give you a deep sense of happiness. Okay, now the second part of the exercise is called Write Your Happy Ending. So fast forward to the end of your life. Imagine you're on your deathbed. Looking back on your life, what are 3 things you will want to have done? The next part is you go back now to your first 3 answers. And the idea for people is, okay, if you do those 3 things that you've stated initially weekly, will that get you to the happy ending that you have already said that you want? Many people, when they do that exercise, find that they're not aligned at all. Like at the end of the life, they say, yeah, I want to have spent time with my friends and family. I want to have engaged in passions that mean the world to me. They say all kinds of things. And then you look at the 3 happiness habits and they don't match up at all. It's not about making people feel bad. It's about bringing awareness to that intention. Like if you say you value your friends and family, yet you're too busy working, let's say, to find time for them, okay, that's okay, but you need to start making a small shift there, because you ain't going to get to that happy ending otherwise.